What's kicking, generators? It's your girl, Jen, and today I'm here to tell you about 8 things that Nurse does you probably thought were hack. All of these tricks I have learnt through playing a lot of Nurse and making it all the way to rank 1, but often when I get to the end game, I see messages like, "Oh my god, you're hacking, how did you know I was there?" Or something like, "How are you so fast?" So I'm gonna let you guys in on the secrets that answer all of these questions. Not a lot of survivors realize that the Nurse actually can't get stunned when she's in fatigue. This makes for an incredible counter against perks like head-on and pellet stuns. My favorite way to counter head-on is to actually blink towards the locker but out of reach, and when you enter fatigue, you go towards the locker. Often a survivor will jump out trying to use head-on, but because you're already in fatigue, the stun doesn't count. This makes it extremely easy to then hit them as they're running away. This also works with pallets as a way to make survivors waste them. What you do is you walk into the pallet after you're in fatigue, and often survivors can't help but just pull the pallet on you, and you don't actually get stunned, so you're not wasting any time, but they've already dropped that pallet. One of the most annoying things to deal with as a Nurse is the double stun. So if you get stunned with a pallet after you blink, you end up with fatigue and a stun. So that's double the amount of time wasted. But did you know if you blink to the other side without landing in the pallet, the stun sound will happen, but the stun doesn't. So you only have to deal with fatigue. Not to mention, the survivor is stuck in the animation pulling the pallet whilst you're going through, so you know exactly where they're going to be to hit them. Something that should be very obvious, but is actually only known to people who play Nurse a lot, is how to properly short blink. So the easiest way would be to look at the ground, but this has several problems. One being that if you're on a double-story map, like Hawkins, the game, Midwich, then you're going to blink down instead of actually stopping short. This is also a problem if you're directly above the basement. The other problem with looking at the ground to short blink is that it takes some time to actually make the blink because you're using your full charge. It takes the same amount of time it would take if it was going a long distance. So a trick to avoid this is if you know there's an object or a wall that you can't blink through and it's right next to you, aiming at that object will cause the blink to only go that small distance rather than using the full charge. This takes half the time and it won't cause you to go down into the basement or downstairs when you don't want to. A good example of this is on the game where there are lots of walls. You can actually blink parallel to that wall and in line with the edge of it to avoid blinking all the way across the map. You can catch survivors by surprise with this, as it only takes a split second to blink versus going across the map, and they won't expect you to land directly on top of them. This next one is actually a mechanic that will probably help survivors more than it will help Nurse mains. But it is something that Nurse mains know and therefore know how to counter. It is the internal-external walls. Now that may sound contradictory, but they do exist. At the moment, there are only 2 maps with obvious internal-external walls, and that is the Nurse's own map, Disturbed Ward, and Suffocation Pit. These internal-external walls are walls that cut 2 sections of the map so that there is blinkable space on each side of them, except you can't actually blink through the wall. Now for smart survivors, the best way to gain distance on Nurse is to go around these walls because she won't be able to blink directly to you through them. The reason I've included it in this list is because I get asked a lot on stream about these walls, and most Nurse mains instinctively know to blink around them rather than waste time trying to go through them. Next we have some combinations of add-ons that are not well known and very underappreciated. First up is Matchbox and Spastic Breath. So Matchbox gives you a 4.2 meters per second movement speed as a Nurse, but it also takes away a blink. And Spastic Breath gives you a 4.6 movement speed as a result of successfully hitting someone after a blink. But at the same time, it also disables your blinks. So this means that you are stuck walking as Nurse. Now this may seem like a bad option for Nurse because what is a Nurse without her blinks? But actually it can be really powerful. For one, most people don't know that you're running these add-ons, so they're going to keep trying to counter you as a Nurse with blinks, but you also have a normal killer's speed, which means that you can loop with the survivors like you were running any other killer. This means that they run in really weird ways, often doubling back into your face by mistake because they're still expecting you to blink. This is actually a really good combination to use with the backpack nurse build, which if anyone watches my stream knows I use it quite a lot. So what this is Iron Grasp, Agitation, and Mad Grit, allowing you to move extremely fast whilst holding a survivor and constantly be whacking the air. Add on the 4.6 movement speed from Spasmodic Breath, and you get a lot of endgame chats saying, how are you so damn fast and what hacks are you using? This next add-on combination I am extremely proud of myself for thinking up as soon as the nurse update came out. What it is Kavanagh's Breath and Campbell's Breath. So this combination tremendously increases the blink range and gives you an instant second blink when you've fully charged your blink. You can see already why this one may make survivors think you're hacking. Combine this with the knowledge of how to short blink and you have an extremely powerful combination. The cross-map range that you get from these add-ons allows you to surprise survivors that don't think you could make it that far in the first place. Not to mention they're also expecting you to be fatigued before you ever make it to them, so they will often just stay on the generator to get it done before you get there. I've gotten a lot of gen grabs using these add-ons because they are unsuspecting that you will even make it that far before they get off the generator. This next one gets me accused of hacking quite a lot in the endgame chat, and that is because survivors don't realize the amount of visibility that you have from blinking through objects. A lot of the time, blinking through walls makes the objects around you transparent, allowing you to see survivors that you wouldn't have seen if you were running a regular M1 killer. I notice this a lot more on maps like the game or Midwich, where there's a lot of walls around, so when you blink through one, almost all of them become transparent. Something unique that comes along with this that you wouldn't realize is if you happen to clip a locker, you can actually see the survivor inside it. I found this out by happy accident on stream when there was a striped t-shirt Fang in the locker and I happened to accidentally blink through the corner of it, allowing me to see her top for 0.2 seconds. So this is a really good counter if you think about it. If you blink through a locker to check that someone's in there, you avoid if they have DS or head-on, and it takes you half the time as if you opened the locker. Quite contradictory to what I said before about the internal-external walls is the exit gate walls. They look exactly like the external walls around the boundaries of maps. The only difference is you can blink through these ones. It makes it much easier to quickly stop a survivor who's about to run out the exit gate. Not to mention, you can also surprise survivors before the door is even open by blinking inside as they're about to open it. If you're looking for a really ridiculous meme build, then another option is to run Insidious and Noed and blink inside that exit gate before anyone even knows you're running Nurse. And then you just wait for them to open the door and surprise them all. Obviously, it's not a very good plan in case they open the other exit gate, but you know, maybe give it a try. There are some exceptions to this one for maps that don't actually have those side walls. For example, Dead Dog Saloon has a flat door. And Midwich, Hawkins Lab, the game, and Larry's all have doors that go outward rather than inward so that you can't actually blink through those sides. If you want to try the meme though, you can blink through the door itself. You don't need the sidewalls for that. But if you've got a map with sidewalls, it is extremely powerful for cutting off survivors. Alright guys, that's it for my 8 things you probably didn't know about Nurse, but if you did know some of these, let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that bell notification to be notified every single time I post a video. I also stream on Twitch 3 nights a week, so if there's any more burning questions you have about Nurse, don't be scared to pop over and say hi.